It's one of the lasting effects of the pandemic. Experts are shedding light on the impact of COVID-19 on young children, now being called Generation C.
Yeah, many of these kids are spending their formative years at home and missing out on crucial interactions that no doubt will help them develop.
Joining us live now to talk about this issue is Dr. Matthew Beal. He is the Division Chief of Child and Adolescent Psychiatry at Georgetown University Hospital. Dr. Beal, thanks for being here.
Thanks very much for having me.
So how are we going to be defining Generation C?
Well, I think this is going to take a long time to understand, and I think there's an understandable urgency that people feel to try to define and understand this moment that we're in. But it's going to take months and years to really understand the impacts of the pandemic on families and on kids. And frankly, while it's a massive disruption, it's an unprecedented disruption, it's a very sustained and long disruption, it also has an enormous amount of nuance to it. So I think it's going to be a story that we're learning about for years to come in our clinical experiences and in our research to understand what has the impact been on kids, both from the standpoint of kids being put at significant risk or having their lives disrupted in ways that are really going to matter, and also in ways that we may not be able to anticipate now of potentially beneficial things for some kids. I mean, this is our population affected in a lot of ways with an enormous amount of variability. And so I think we're still trying to get our arms around it.
Doc, let's work through the age groups now, starting with the youngest group, babies. What type of impact could infants see in their development?
Well, again, I think we want to be careful to be balanced here. On the one hand, there's no question that infancy is a critically important time for brain development, for the development of emotional skills and social skills. And there's a lot of talk, for example, about what does it do to babies who read faces to be encountering so many people wearing masks. And it's an important question that we're still trying to understand. On the other hand, what's the impact for babies of perhaps having had a lot more time with parents and other caregivers who are spending more time at home, as so many people have been going out much less over the last year. And so I think, what we want to look for in babies is, are they developing according to appropriate milestones in terms of their ability to express emotions, to interact both before they develop language and as they develop language, are they developing appropriate social skills and communication skills with caregivers, and then as we move into toddlerhood with other children. We're going to have to just really look out for that. I think there's good reason to be concerned, but I also don't think that we necessarily have a disaster on our hands. I think we have to really be observant and vigilant.
And let's talk about the next group up, toddlers. What are you seeing with toddlers, and what kind of long-term effects do you think that the pandemic might have on them?
So for toddlers, for kids in the sort of 18 to 36 month age range, it's a time of enormous social growth. It's where kids really start to get interested in socializing with other kids and socializing with adults who aren't their parents, for example, teachers or other caregivers, and where they start to have experiences outside of the home, to spending more time at daycare or at preschools or other kind of early education centers. And because so many of those experiences have been disrupted or delayed or interrupted, I think what we're seeing clinically is that certainly some of those kids are not showing some of the same social development that we would hope to see. With that said, kids in this age group are enormously resilient. They develop quickly, they make up ground quickly. And so I think what we need to look out for is, as kids transition back to being able to spend more time in childcare and early learning centers in months to come, that transition is going to be rocky for a lot of kids. And I think we have to expect that rockiness and try to really support kids and families and educators in helping kids to ease back into sort of more normal, developmentally typical interactions. I think that most of us are confident that as kids get those exposures to more normative experiences, they're going to be able to catch up in many ways. There's no question right now, though, that the social skills and emotional skills of kids in that toddler age group are really a source of concern, something that we have to watch very closely.
All right, finally, the elementary school age. I've got two in this group. We've heard about increases in depression and behavioral problems. What's the track looking like for this age group?
I think it's really tricky. I've got one in that age group at home myself. And I think on the one hand, these kids don't necessarily have, at 7 or 8 or 9 years old, the capacity to think abstractly and think in the big picture, what's going on in the world right now? Why is this happening? But they are also aware enough of what's routine and what's normal to know that this has been very not normal for many, many, many kids across the country. And so I think that what we are seeing, just as you said, is that there's a lot of emotional fragility and difficulties that kids in this age group are experiencing. I know that my colleagues who are pediatricians, I'm a child psychiatrist, my colleagues who are pediatricians, a lot of what they're doing in their clinics and their offices these days are seeing kids in this age group whose families are really struggling and saying, I don't really know how to support my child. And I think that families are understandably very concerned. And I think that it's critically important as kids transition back to school. It's happened in a lot of places already. It's going to be happening more and more in months to come, that schools and parents are both given information and resources to understand that this transition is going to be really difficult and tricky for kids. And what kids really need to have as they transition back to school, particularly elementary school age kids, is routine and consistency and predictability. And so I think elementary schools are trying, and we need to support them in having the time and space to rebuild a sense of security, safety, and predictability in these kids' lives as they return to school each day. And I think that, thank goodness, we're finally getting kids back into the classroom in a lot of parts of the country where being home for a year has really, really been tough on kids and families.
And Dr. Beal, quickly before we let you go, what can parents do at home to help reduce the impact?
So I think a few things to keep in mind. First is that kids go as their parents go. If as parents, we're able to, as best we can, manage our own stress, manage our own emotional well-being, get sleep, get exercise, find social support from our peers and from our spouses and other people, that is really going to be helpful to our kids. If our kids see us managing our own stress, our own distress, kids are going to be able to navigate almost all of this. Really, kids have that ability. Secondly, parents, you are the number one expert on your child. And if you see things that you're concerned about, if your child does not seem like they're thriving, please talk to an expert about it. Talk to your pediatrician, talk to a mental health professional, talk to a teacher or a counselor at school, because you can get information and additional perspective, but listen to that concern that you have. And the third is to be patient. Again, this has been such a disruptive time. As the transition starts and we start to get back to what we recognize as a more normative kind of way of life, kids are going to sort of lag, and they're going to not be so sure that they can trust it, or that it's really going to stay this way, or that it's going to be normative or normal and predictable again. So hanging in there with kids, being patient through these transitions, and again, taking care of ourselves first, that's really the best thing we can do for our kids.
Dr. Matthew Beal, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.